to our annual dinner. It's wonderful to see such a crowd of people, many of whom know each other and work together. And it's nice to be in a room where people are used to building bridges and not fences. At this time, I would also like to acknowledge the Radisson for hosting us this year. And thanks to their staff and management, we've had a delightful evening so far, and the program that we have planned for you will only add to that. I also want to acknowledge the pianist who played during the cocktail hour, was a friend of my family, a talented young man, Aiden Jordan, who provided musical entertainment for us. He's a great guy and a very talented young man. At this time, I would also like to acknowledge the Board of Trustees of the Lackawanna Historical Society that are present this evening. And I would ask you to just stand when your name is called, please. Laurie Cadden, Joe Samini, Bill Conlog, John Farkas, Don Frederickson, Joe Garvey, Tom Horlocker, Jeff Kiefer, Delita O'Malley, Christine Posley, Ella Rayburn, and Elaine Shepard. These are the people that have become an integral part of the Historical Society and make it work and also accept the responsibility for it. We're very happy that so many of our board members are here. On the back of your program, you will see a section of staff names listed, and those are people who are also significant in making the Historical Society the successful organization that it is. Our Executive Director, Mary Ann Savakinis, our Assistant Director, Sarah Pacini, Ann McGrath, our researcher, Olivia Bernardi, the office manager, and our tech giant, and Jim and Gay Clifford, who are the loving caretakers at the Lackawanna Historical Society headquarters, the Catlin House. These are people that are wonderful to work with, and they are always there. I also want to acknowledge the fact that the Historical Society and many, many other community organizations this year are conducting events and acknowledging the 150th anniversary, the 150th year, the sesquicentennial, which is a challenge to say and to spell. But it is a great year for Scranton, and I'm sure many of you in the audience were here for the 100th in '66, and hopefully will be here for many more. But there are many activities to enjoy throughout this sesquicentennial year, which we began in April with a kickoff event and will conclude in April 23rd of 2016. And I have to say that the sesquicentennial is being directed and is under the leadership of Scranton Tomorrow, which is a nonprofit organization and is represented here this evening by both our executive director, or the executive director at Scranton Tomorrow, Leslie Collins, and the chair of the board of Scranton Tomorrow, Andrea Mulrine. And I do want to acknowledge their leadership in bringing together a very large group of community-minded citizens from all parts of the city to organize and brainstorm to acknowledge the 150th year of our city's history. And history is what we're all about tonight. We have a great program planned, which we're going to introduce to you momentarily. But I also want to finish by acknowledging, and I'm not going to name names because I would feel terrible if I forgot somebody, but the audience is literally peppered with chairmen of the board and executive directors of so many organizations: the Anthracite Heritage Museum, Lackawanna Heritage Valley, the Chamber of Commerce, Scranton Tomorrow, the Century Club, and probably some that I'm forgetting, and forgive me for that. I want to acknowledge Judge Bizignani-Moyle and, of course, Bob Durkin, and the mayors that are here who led our city during their term in office that you will be hearing from shortly. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the sesquicentennial contest winners, and that's going to be handled by the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Scranton Tomorrow, Andrea Mulray.
Good evening, everyone. And my thanks to Michael and to the Lackawanna Historical Society for allowing us to be here this evening to join in the celebration and to share a little bit with you for Scranton's sesquicentennial. And I'd like to invite my cohorts on the sesquicentennial contest to come up here with me. First of all, Kathy Shimoni, who is the chair from the Century Club of Scranton, who basically ran the contest. So Kathy, come up here. And our partners also, Nell Donnelly O'Boyle, did I get that right? Nell Donnelly O'Boyle from the, I'm sorry, from the, I wasn't sure if I was getting the names in the right order, from the Greater Scranton Board of Realtors, and also Bob Durkin from the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, who have all played a role in making this contest a success for us. So one of the things that we did when we started talking about the city's sesquicentennial as a group, and it is a large group of people, we said, well, what happened in 1966 for the centennial, and what can we reuse, what can we freshen? And one of the things that they did back then was they had a beauty contest, and they named Miss Scranton. And not to let the men off the hook, they did a beard contest. Okay, I wasn't really into those things. But Kathy came up with the idea and said, how about if we do a scholarship? If we do an essay contest for a scholarship? And we said, well, that really fits in with what we hope for Scranton. And the title of the contest was A Vision of Scranton Tomorrow. So a little play on us and a hope for what our city will continue to become for all of us. So Kathy, thank you so much for your leadership in this. We appreciate it. So then we said we needed some help and we needed some sponsors, and we turned to the Greater Scranton Board of Realtors and Nell Donnelly O'Boyle. So Nell, I want you to just take a minute, and I want to give some recognition to the Board of Realtors.
Well, we were delighted to be part of this. This is, I think, a really cool contest, and anything to bring light to the advantages and possibilities of Scranton is something that we wanted to be part of. So, thank you.
And then we had a bonus, and we heard from one of our partners, the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, that there was a scholarship fund that we could use. So they passed along the balance in the fund to us, which allowed us to give not just prizes to the first place, but also to the second place. So Bob Durkin.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. We were, looking at some of the materials sitting around the office, and this literally almost stumbled upon this, and that is the late attorney Ernie Preate Sr. When he passed away, in his will, he had left us with a bequeath to the chamber of $1,500, and specifically he said he wanted this to be for an essay contest. And nothing had happened on it over time, and suddenly when we heard from Scranton Tomorrow about this and the 150th anniversary, it was like fantastic. I think it was about $1,800. I'm trying to remember what was whatever was with the balance. But the bottom line is, for those of you who don't know, and I think it's appropriate to make at least a reference to this, not unlike many of the incredible mayors that we have here today and the great mayors of Scranton, Ernie Preate Sr. was one of the most important people in northeastern Pennsylvania and Lackawanna County. The whole history of the Scranton-Lackawanna Industrial Building Company and life, and the development of job-creating opportunities through the Chamber of Commerce. Ernie Preate was at the forefront of this from post-World War II until his passing. And quite honestly, I can't think of a better person to have whose name could be attached to this, because Ernie Preate was a man who did think about Scranton Tomorrow and did think about the future and put his resources and his time and effort into this. So we're really pleased that this was a part of this. And on behalf of Carlin and Ernie Jr., I know that they're very pleased to be a part of this whole effort, so it's great. Thank you.
So under Kathy's direction, we had a panel of judges, including Nell, who judged the essays, and they were out in the lobby. I hope you had a chance to read them. We will be putting them on our website as well, so you'll have an opportunity to read them. But I do want to share with you the names of the winners, and 2 of our winners are here with us this evening. And what we decided, instead of a beard contest, that we would give a prize to the winners of both female and male. So we it's not a beauty contest, it's a scholarship contest. And you didn't have to grow a beard to win. But you did have to talk about a vision of Scranton tomorrow. So our first place winner from the male is Tyler Gatto, who is a graduate of West Scranton High School, and he's currently attending Penn State University, and he could not be here with us this evening, but we're going to plan a little bit of a reception for everybody to get them together when school is out during the holiday season. The first place winner on the female side is Kara Anzelevich, and Kara is here with us this evening, so welcome. Kara is also a graduate of West Scranton High School, and she is attending the University of Scranton. So thank you, welcome. Our second place winner this evening on the male side is Joshua Stankowski. Joshua was not able to be here. He's a graduate of Scranton High School, and he is currently attending Penn State University. And with us this evening is Elizabeth Corbett. Elizabeth is a graduate of Scranton High School, and she's attending Westchester University. So congratulations. We also felt there was another essay that just couldn't be let by, so we have an honorable mention for Jennifer Jordan. She's a graduate of Lakeland High School, and she's currently attending the University of Rochester, also out of town. But all of our all of our essayists had a vision of Scranton tomorrow that was so positive and so indicative of the type of people that we have here that look at Scranton and love Scranton and know something about our past, but also know what a great future we have ahead of us. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to our winners. And we're going to take a couple of photos, and we have a check presentation for you. And thank you again to the Historical Society for allowing us to be here this evening and share tonight with you. Thank you.
So as we're bringing our mayors up, we're going to get into the crux of the program, but maybe not just yet.
I have to present the volunteer.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. There's a reason we chose Bob Durkin to be our MC tonight.
Anxious for the mic.
Yes, but that's good. While they're taking their picture, if you don't know me, my name is Marianne Savakinis. Thank you. And at this time, every year at the annual dinner, the Historical Society presents a Volunteer of the Year award. So I'm going to do that with Michael's assistance. But before I announce the award recipient this year, I just want to recognize the volunteers that are with us tonight, because we have many, and I think it's good to acknowledge everyone who not just volunteers on a regular basis at the Catlin House, but comes out to support events like this. So our volunteers that are here tonight include Kathy Shimoni, John Farkas Jr., Bridget Conlog, Joyce Atala, Lois Kretsch, Lenny Piaski, Bob Savakinis, Dennis and Charlene Martin, John and Jen Achman, Anne-Marie O'Hara, Charlie Compass, Jack Carling, and Dominic Keating. So please give them a hand for all they do for the Historical Society. And I would be remiss if I didn't also give kudos to the leader of our organization, Michael Gilmartin. We acknowledge all of our volunteers, but it's really because of the leader like Michael that we're able to accomplish so much. So thank you, Michael, for all you do. And just to reiterate, thanks to the staff, we do have Sarah Pacini with us tonight. Sarah, looking lovely as always. Sarah Pacini worked very hard getting all the details together for tonight in the chaos of the Catlin House office, in addition to Olivia Bernardi and Ann McGrath, and then our caretakers, the Cliffords. So thanks to them for all they do. So each year at our annual dinner, we like to take a moment to honor a volunteer who has gone above and beyond in their service. And tonight, I am pleased to announce that this year, the award is going to be presented to 2 people. This year's recipients first became active in the Society in 2003 when they joined as members after attending one of our programs. They soon took a membership role and became more active as volunteers, and were very interested in working with the Society to implement an annual event that would highlight the Civil War period and offer participants an opportunity to dance to period music in some of Scranton's most impressive historic sites. They worked diligently to bring an experience that they had only had by traveling to places like Cape May, Gettysburg, and Newport in the past. And as lifetime residents of northeastern Pennsylvania, they believed that Scranton could become a popular place for other period music and dance fans, as well as period fashion experts. They encouraged the Lackawanna Historical Society to work with them to plan an event that would draw people from other states to the city of Scranton once a year, every April. And through their efforts, the Grand Civil War Ball was born and has been hosted by the Lackawanna Historical Society for more than a decade. In addition, tonight's honorees have been able to share their love and knowledge of historic costume as active members of several local history groups. Jennifer is a well-known living historian, most recently with the Confederation of Union Generals under the persona of Louisa May Alcott. And John joins Jennifer for period dance events, but also assists the Historical Society with some more technical issues as one of our go-to guys when we have a computer problem or need advice about antique silver. Together, our 2015 Volunteers of the Year also find time to join the Lackawanna Historical Society for many of our annual and special events. They are regulars each month at our Dine Lackawanna fundraisers, and they are also willing to come out and appear in their exquisite period dresses and costumes for events like the recent speakeasy party that we had in August or our upcoming holiday open house. Their dedication, time, and talent are unlimited, and we are so grateful to them for everything they do to promote local history and support the Lackawanna Historical Society. So please join me in congratulating our 2015 Volunteers of the Year, Jennifer and John Ockman. Can you come up?
I just want to say that I had no idea this was coming, and I am completely floored. I don't feel like we do enough for the Historical Society, honestly, and it is a privilege to be with you and to help you and to promote Scranton. You guys make it easy and you make it fun. I don't know what else to say. I really am surprised. But thank you very much.
We try to surprise everybody every year, but very well deserved. Thanks, Jen and John. And now for the program. Tonight our MC is Bob Durkin. And Bob Durkin has been President and Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Scranton Chamber since 2013. He oversees all operations and programming of the Chamber and its affiliates, Slipco, Life, Metro Action, Inc., Leadership Lackawanna, Skills in Scranton, and the Scranton Plan. Prior to his position with the Chamber, Mr. Durkin served as president of the Northeast Regional Cancer Institute, Before that, he was Executive Director of the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority, one of the sponsors for tonight's events. Thank you very much. Vice President of the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, and a variety of roles at many nonprofits and regional government agencies. He is a graduate of Penn State University, where he also took on advanced studies at the Institute of Public Administration, and he completed his studies at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Institute for Organizational Management at the University of Delaware. Bob and his wife Sherry live in Oliphant with their daughter Jessica and son Kevin. And tonight Bob is going to lead us through a very interesting and informative history of the Scranton mayors.
Thank you, Mary Ann, and I really appreciate you having me back. I'll touch base on that in a second. But first of all, I wanted to make note of, I think, a special couple that's with us today. Dom and Fran Keating, congratulations on your recent marriage. Two of the fine people. And I'm reminded, by the way, that we've participated a couple different times, including Judge Moyle and I and John Blake's team in the You Live Here, You Should Know This contest. And our goal was always to beat Dom's team. And that never happened. And I will tell you, and I feel bad, and I apologize to Judge Moyle, because what happened was a couple of years ago we came this close. In fact, it came down to the very last question. I have to admit, I blew the question. And it came to, I blew it because the question came to me, and as God is my witness, I thought Manuka was a Native American name for Manuka Subaru. So I thought that was a shout out to the Corbett family here. But likewise, I know we've acknowledged a lot of different people here. In fact, is there anybody here who hasn't been acknowledged? We'll just stand up. But I did want to say special thanks to former Commissioner Mike Washoe, who was with us, as well as our mayors. And I think we've probably covered most of the other things. The other thing I mentioned, almost constantly apologizing for different things. Several years ago at this event, we had a roast for Bernie McGurl. And a roast is a little bit different than this whole environment. So I came at it, fully thinking I was part of the Friars Club. So, I feel like because it had been, broadcast on ECTV and run so many times, I feel like I have to make a public apology to Bernie for the things I said about him. I want to say apologies to Bernie. I want to make sure I cover everything. Apologies to Bernie's family, to Bernie's tailor, Bernie's barber, Bernie's grade school teacher, his little league school coach, his paper boy. I think we pretty much burned everything with Bernie that year, didn't we? But that was a lot of fun, and this is always a fun group to be with, because not only do a lot of people, everybody knows each other, or so many people know each other in this room. It's such a great group of people, because the volunteers and the staff and all of those who are associated with this organization really care so much about Scranton, care so much about Lackawanna County and our history, and that shared passion and that shared love of this, we feel it. You feel it with this group, you feel it tonight, but you feel it all year long. And you certainly see it in the work that Mary Ann and her team do. And I know we've already acknowledged that, but I think it's worth another round of applause for the great work that's one of the things that you'll see on the screen here is the rolling photos and information about the mayors. And I will tell you that most of what you're going to hear from me, and some of what I think you certainly should appreciate about this night, comes from a really terrific book. I'm going to guess most of you know about this book, Dave Wenzel's Scranton's Mayors. I love it. I've gone through it. I think I've read it 3 or 4 times since Dave published it, and certainly more than once recently as I've gone through all this stuff. It's such a great read, and it's not just the basic information, but Dave was able to grab some of the really interesting sort of anecdotal information and fun facts about the different mayors. And so I heartily encourage you, if you don't have a copy, they were on sale earlier, and if you can't get them here tonight, you can get them at the Historical Society. Really a great gift for people as well, and I appreciate the work that Dave did on that. I'm
waiting for my Pulitzer.
And I have to admit publicly that there's a page, and I asked Virginia Goodrich, my assistant, who's here tonight, I have to admit this publicly, and I'm going to say from this point on that Jason Shrive is my attorney, so after this point, I think I'm covered. It says on the first or second page, there's a sheet that shows the copyright, and it says, "No parts of this book may be reproduced in any form except for the inclusion of brief quotations and review." And I have violated that trust so many times today, so Dave, I have a feeling that there'll be a lawsuit at my door tomorrow. But what we've done, and Marianne was kind enough to throw some stuff together. Because we're going to be dealing with the current mayors, I'm just going to hit on a few sort of tidbits about some of the mayors over the years. Some of the photos will be rolling up here, but I think it's probably worth noting. The first mayor of Scranton, now almost 150 years ago, was Elliott S.M. Hill. And Mayor Hill was 46 years old, a Democrat, newspaper owner, and in fact the owner and publisher of the Scranton Register, the forerunner of the Scranton Times. So it's kind of neat, because if you look at this book, you'll see there's a recurrent theme. There are a lot of different individuals and backgrounds that keep coming up, including those who are in the newspaper business. Another one, which is certainly notable and recognizable, in 1878, Terrence Powderly was elected mayor of Scranton at the age of 29, representing the Greenback Party. And he served 3 consecutive terms before leaving to become a lawyer and going on to Washington, D.C., where he served as Commissioner General of Immigration under President McKinley. And of course, he more famously was known as the leader of the Knights of Labor, the forerunner of the United Mine Workers. His strong pro-union ways were very unpopular locally, particularly with Bishop O'Hara. In 1886, Ezra Ripple was elected mayor, and he was 44 years old, a Republican, served 2 consecutive terms. He was a Civil War veteran, a prisoner of war, and one little notable item is that the city received the name the Electric City during the term of Mayor Ripple. A very common name, there were 2 Mayor Connells. William Connell was elected mayor at the age of 31. He served 2 non-consecutive terms. It's another interesting thing that may interest you gentlemen. I think there were 6 mayors that served non-consecutive terms.
I'm planning on that.
I just knew that. Aside from the
Mayor Court, right?
Aside from the recognizable name, he was around for the creation of Naog Park. In 1896, James Bailey was elected, and he was a grocer. He was not the only grocer elected, several grocers. He had to deal with a number of scandals, including scandals involving council members for accepting bribes that discredited his administration. After leaving office, his grocery business failed. He had a nervous breakdown and was committed to what is now called the Clark Summit State Hospital. Gentlemen, anybody recognize that set of circumstances?
On second thought, I'm not coming back.
In 1909, I knew he was going to be the one. I said, don't even try to be funny. Don't even
I
attempt.
told them to turn off the mic, but they didn't listen.
He's got a push pedal down there. He's turning it off on his own. John von Bergen, in 1909, was elected mayor, 35 years old. He served 3 years as a mayor, and during his term, the mayoral term was changed from 3 to 4 years. And after he served, he was elected to 2 terms as county commissioner. Again, another well-known name, Edmund German. And he served non-consecutive terms as well, 1914 to 18, and then 1926 to 1930. German was 46 years old. He was a nonpartisan. He won a nonpartisan primary for his first term. And what's really interesting, think about this. In 1914, he spent $33,000 on his election. I wouldn't even know what those dollars were in today's terms. That said, and maybe this was a forerunner of what was going to happen. His office would be tainted at the end. This is a theme here, gentlemen. When he was caught in a scandal involving slot machines, and he was charged with graft and conspiracy and sentenced to a year in jail. And in 1922, my namesake, John Durkin, was elected mayor. And while you say his name is D-U-R-K-A-N, I like to remind members of my family that that is actually my ancestral name, was D-U-R-K-A-N. I love it. They went through Ellis Island, and my grandfather's name was changed from Durkan to Durkin. But of course, they didn't argue with anybody in Ellis Island. It just kept going through. He was the first Democratic mayor and elected in 30 years in 1922. He was an undertaker, by the way. Probably familiar with Durkin Cuff Carney Funeral Home. That was his. And he was very well known for fighting a crusade against mine cave-in damage. He also attempted to expand the city's border by annexing parts of Dunmore. How about that? I don't think it was the first and only time that was tried. But he was an excellent speaker, clearly better than perhaps his ancestors here, and gained invitations to speak at the Democratic National Convention on behalf of presidential candidates on more than one occasion. And skipping ahead to some of these, the last one I've mentioned, another funeral director, Howard Snowden, elected in 1942, served as city treasurer, served during World War II, and he saw that many residents were leaving the area for better jobs in New Jersey and Connecticut, and his one goal was to attract new businesses to Scranton, something that our Chamber of Commerce was involved in, and he was heavily involved at that time, working with the Chamber. He was instrumental in securing the federal funding to make B-29s at the Murray plant in South Scranton. He was well known for his moral cleanup of the city, which also at the time had a very popular red light district. I'm not going to get into that one. We're on ECTV. Now, I've just thrown a few of the names out there, a few of the little stories. Where we want to go next with this, and I think it's a really fun and unique kind of a format that we want to have, and that is because we have these gentlemen with us who are recent mayors of the city of Scranton. And what we'd like to try to do, I think we'll have fun with this, is to give them an opportunity to talk about some of the other mayors that they had worked with or they had known who influenced their lives. And so we're gonna just sort of run down that line, and subject to time, I hope we'll have a chance to sort of, maybe we'll do a little banter back and forth as well. So we're gonna start with Gene Peters. Born the youngest of 17 children of Lebanese descent who came to Scranton in the 1880s, Mr. Peters attended Scranton Central, Lackawanna Junior College before receiving his mechanical engineering degree from Lafayette College. He spent 5 years working in New Jersey before returning to Scranton to join his brother's engineering firm, Peters Design Group. In 1962, he joined Mayor William Schmidt's cabinet as the Director of Public Works. In 1969, he was elected the 25th mayor of the city of Scranton, and he defeated Mayor Walsh, who had previously defeated his predecessor, Mayor Schmidt. As mayor, he worked with national government to pass President Nixon's revenue sharing acts, resulting in the city's first tax relief in 25 years. He added Scranton to the Model Cities program, improved and created new public recreation venues, aided Wilkes-Barre in the recovery of the Agnes flood, and in fact, I would reference some of the really other interesting things within Dave's book that talk about him. He chose not to run for a third term, but continued active in the community, both in his firm and also in 1988 was elected as delegate to the Republican National Convention, then supporting soon-to-be President George Herbert Walker Bush. And I do want to point this out because this is one of my favorite parts of the book and the story on Mayor Peters, because I think it clearly speaks volumes about what his strengths were as a manager and a person who could assess talent. These are the names of individuals, just a short list of the people who served in his cabinet. Bob Pettinato, former Lackawanna County Commissioner, was his Director of Public Works. Gaynor Cawley, State Representative for 30 years, was his Director of Recreation. Fred Bellardi, State Representative for 28 years, was his Director of Model Cities. Chuck Volpe, Sr., was his Community ComD Director. John Szymanski, the longtime Sheriff of Lackawanna County, was his Business Administrator. A gentleman I think we all know, James Barrett McNulty, served, in just about every position, didn't he, Mayor? Including Deputy Mayor. And one young man by the name of David Wenzel, who was Assistant to the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. I think that's just amazing. And I think, Jimmy, you actually worked for him at one time as well, too.
I did, but my wife was a basket girl up at Neon Park. And that's the truth, Mayor.
So there we go. Well, I think that's just an interesting perspective that speaks to the administration of Mayor Peters. And so we're going to have a little fun with this. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Peters to offer a few thoughts.
Thank you. And may I first congratulate the Chamber of Commerce in selecting you as the new president. I think you're doing a great job, and we expect a great deal from you. Actually, during my tenure as mayor, I believe in the old adage, a short speech is the best speech. So I'll be very brief. We've been here quite a while, and we have some very distinguished former mayors and my good friend the mayor to speak. So I'm to speak on, I believe, Mayor Walsh.
Whoever you want to talk to.
All right.
Whatever strikes you.
I can speak on all of it.
Whatever you like.
Mayor Schmidt was the mayor that I first knew when I became involved in government. I didn't know Bill when he ran for mayor, but I got a call one day a few weeks after he was elected and asked if he would speak with me, and I said, I'd be happy to speak with you. So at that time, he said not that it was Gene Peters, but I was a registered professional engineer, and that's what he wanted in the Public Works office and city engineer. So I accepted that challenge, and it's one of the best things I ever did because I came to know one of the finest men that I've ever known and was pleased to serve under. Bill Schmidt was not a politician. Bill was a man who loved people. He loved to do things for people. He was when he did something good, he just felt good. So Bill Schmidt also would listen to his cabinet. When I had several ideas, some would cost money, some didn't. One was, for example, having the problems we have on city streets when everybody's parked, the snow trucks got to get by, they can't get by. So we instituted, under Bill Schmidt, a program of making notices on the streets, having the police enforce it, one side of the street and the following day the next side of the street, which helped greatly. Other things like we had refuse trucks that were open, city's refuse trucks and private refuse trucks. And they'd clean the city up, and then they'd go on a windy day, papers would blow all over the city, etc. So we convinced Bill to have a budget, I say Bill, Mayor Schmidt, have a budget to put these pack masses that you see in the street today. So all that is contained in a sealed truck and not going all over your street. So these are things, some of the things that I remember distinctly about Bill, in addition to being he's one of the finest men that I had known. I was asked to speak about Jimmy Walsh. Mayor Walsh and I were in a mayoralty contest. And I can certainly say that the biggest thing I can say about Jim Walsh is that when we ran hard against each other. When it was over, Jim Walsh was subsequently appointed by Governor Schaap as a judge. In my second election, Jim Walsh is running for judge. Our friends who had been kind of made enemies of each other from West Side, we're both from West Scranton, were very pleased because they voted for both of us. And it was a great election. Subsequently, Jim and I became great friends. We belonged to the same health club for years, played racquetball together, and had great times. And that brings me to a third person. And I might say about Jimmy Walsh, he was an excellent politician. He set up an organization in West Side before he ran for mayor, and his organization was still alive when he ran for judge, still active. And Jim had a great philosophy on politics. He knew politics. The other mayor that worked with me was Jim McNulty. Jim McNulty was probably a master politician. Jim probably had more ideas, political ideas, than any man I know. And Jim went on to be a great mayor. And unfortunately, both Mayor Walsh and Mayor McNulty are both very ill. And that's why Jim is not here tonight. Mayor Walsh is in Washington, where his daughters live. And I would ask that you do one thing for me, for all of us, just a moment of silence and a little prayer for these two great mayors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm glad you brought up Mayor McNulty. Originally, Jim had hoped to be able to join us here tonight, and later on, after that, Evie had pledged to try to come here as well. But as Mayor Peters points out, Mr. McNulty is not in great health. So Evie has asked if she would beg off, but before doing so, because she's such a trooper and frankly one of the funniest people I know, she put something together. Just a few brief comments. So let me just do a little bit on Mayor McNulty background, and then I'll lead into some of Evie's comments. So James Barrett McNulty served as the 26th mayor of the city of Scranton. Among his many accomplishments as mayor are the relocation of Steamtown National Historic Site from Vermont to Scranton, the opening of Montage Ski Resort, and the restoration and opening of this beautiful Erie Lackawanna train station. He was the first first-term mayor to be elected to the Board of Trustees of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. He was also a member of the National League of Cities, and as a member of the Pennsylvania League of Cities was elected to their board of directors representing the northeastern region of the state. Jim was elected as a member of the board of directors of the National Conference of Democratic Mayors. In addition to serving on their board of directors, he was chosen to serve as their first executive director after he left office as mayor. Jim, as we all know, has served as a political consultant to a number of individuals, including the late U.S. Senators John Hines and U.S. Senator Ed Muskie, who was vice president and ran for president at the time, as well as helping out other local candidates for state legislature, county judge, county commissioner, mayor, etc. Jim, of course, not a stranger to the microphone, served as a host of the Talk of Warm Land radio program for many years. He was the host and executive producer of Sunday Live with Jim McNulty, a public affairs program on the CBS affiliate for over 13 years. Jim conducted interviews with many distinguished guests, including former President Bill Clinton, governors, U.S. senators, congressmen, Irish political activist and Sinn Féin leader Jerry Adams, and many others. And we all know that. We all know who Jim, what he was all about. Jim is the son of the late Henry McNulty and Eloise Barrett McNulty. He is the eldest of 6 children and is married to the Lackawanna County Recorder of Deeds, the one and only Evie Rafalco McNulty, as in Evie's words, his greatest life achievement of them all. So now, if I may, in a sense, speak in Evie's words as she wrote this. Jim and I are so sorry we're unable to make it tonight. The good news is Jim is being moved from ICU into a regular room at Regional Hospital, and from there to the Spirit of Mercy for rehab. Evie's own ongoing back problems have kept her out of the spotlight for a bit. But that said, as she puts it, Jim is breathing easier that I do not have the microphone tonight. He did feel some comfort that I would behave since Mayor Wenzel was there. And by the way, tell Mayor Wenzel that I forgive him for firing me when he took office. And she adds, ha ha, I make more money now anyway. Jim should be home in time to rake the leaves in the backyard. If any of you believe that I mean Jim McNulty, you're wrong. I mean Jimmy Connors will be raking the leaves. My Jim doesn't do manual labor. He only ever took out a garbage bag when there was a DPW strike. I appreciate the fact that the Lackawanna Historical Society has taken time to recognize these wonderful men who've made Scranton the place it is today, the greatest place on earth. Thank you, mayors. You make me proud to call myself a Scrantonian. I love you all, Evie McNulty. So next, we're going to turn it over to, sorry, I apologize. I'm going to ask the 28th mayor of the city of Scranton, Jim Connors.
All right, am I sitting here or getting up there?
You can sit there if you like, whatever.
Well, I wanted to tell a story about you first.
Whatever you like, Jim. No one's ever stopped you
No.
before.
You know, Bob, give him another round of applause. He's the new president of the Chamber of Commerce. You know, it wasn't always going to be me. I mean him. It was going to be me at one point. And so Mike and Mary Ann were on the committee that was going to choose who was going to be the president of the chamber. And they said, you know, we don't know whether it's going to be you or Bob, but we're going to give you a test to see who's the smartest. So they invited us over to the Historical Society, and they put us down at a table. They gave us each a pencil and paper. and they asked us 10 questions, and I thought I did great in that test. Well, wouldn't you know, Mike and Marianne called me the next day. You said, you know, Jimmy, you did very well in the test. You got 9 questions right and only 1 wrong, and Bob got 9 questions right and only 1 wrong, but we're going to give this appointment to Bob. I said, well, that's not fair. I got just as many right as he did. They said, no, it has to do with the question that you both got wrong. For question number 5, Bob wrote down, I don't know, and you wrote down, neither do I. I'll give you back the mic now, Bob. I'll take one seat.
It's your floor.
Well, I'd just like to talk a little bit about myself. You know, the last time I was here, Bob introduced me as a model mayor. So I looked up the word model in the dictionary. It said a small imitation of the real thing. Then he introduced me as a warm mayor. I looked up the word warm in the dictionary. It said not so hot. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Manuka. Robert Corbett and Elizabeth and Trish know that Manuka is an Indian word meaning place where settlers vote twice. As a matter of fact, when I die, I want to be buried in Manuka so I can remain active in politics. You know, somebody asked me if I missed being mayor. I said, being mayor is like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. It feels good when you stop. So, that's all my jokes. Now, thank you very much. Thank you. Susie rehearsed them with me. It's my task to talk a little bit about Jim Hanlon, who I didn't know, but growing up in Scranton, he was always the mayor. He was the mayor for 4 terms, and as you'll find out in reading Dave Winsel's wonderful book, that's the most terms that anybody had. Second, until I got there, was Mayor Peters, who had 2 terms. And then, as Bob said, he chose not to run again. And then I was 3 terms, and Mayor Doherty was 3 terms. But Jim Hanlon was the last of the big city political mayors. He was a good man, a nice man, loved by everyone. He settled lots of strikes in this town, not just his city strikes. So we could really use them now, today with what's going on with the school district. But his right-hand man, and everybody needs somebody to help, was John Washoe, Mike Washow's uncle. But just as Mike was my right-hand man, Jim Hanlon had John Washoe, who was a master politician, and they served the people. They started the SRA, the City Planning Commission. There was a 1955 flood that flooded the flats in Petersburg Corners, and they brought Bernie Blyer in to do a lot of redevelopment. And they brought money in from the federal government for urban renewal. Now, what was really important was how the heck did they annex Manuka? I don't know if you know that, but there was a time that Manuka was all by itself. And they asked the people if they wanted to bring Manuka in. Well, generally in the population, we lost the first time. The second time, it won by 4 votes in Manuka, and we joined the city, and I guess I'm Manuka's revenge on the city today. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Airport, Mayor Hanlon worked with Dan Flood, putting that together. And just a note, the reason it's Wilkes-Barre Scranton instead of Scranton Wilkes-Barre, because Scranton was larger, was because Dan Flood was the guy who brought all the federal money in, and he lived in Wilkes-Barre. Let's see. Oh, he was probably going to win a 5th term, but as Mayor Winsel wrote in his chapter on me, time is the enemy of all politicians, and it was just time. People felt it was time for him to go. He didn't really do anything wrong, and he is the one who coined the term "friendly city." He said, a friendly city needs a friendly mayor. And so Jim Hanlon was the last of the old-time political mayors. Now, I want to talk a bit about my boss and my hero, Dave Wenzel. A hero in the United States of America, a hero to the people of Scranton, and a hero to me. David enlisted in the Army, went to Vietnam, stepped on a landmine, and came home without his legs and an arm, and he never felt sorry for himself for 1 minute, and Janet stood by him the whole time. And in all the years that I worked with Mayor Wenzel, I never saw him lose his temper. I never saw him do anything to hurt any other individual. And he and Mayor McNulty don't get enough credit for helping Mike Washoe and myself put them all together, because that was their project. And by the way, my mayor now, Mayor Courtright, will revive that building. Make no mistake about it. I'll just give you a couple other things about Dave. He was the tax collector, never lost an election as tax collector. He was our bicentennial coordinator. Mayor Peters appointed him to that position. You can, what else did I want to say about Dave? Oh, what an exciting election was the McNulty-Wenzel election. Oh, I'm gonna let you talk about that, Mayor.
What's that?
About your election with Jimmy McNulty. That was an exciting election.
Okay.
And maybe you'll tell the people a little bit about that. And Dave teaches now at the University of Scranton. He's involved in the United Nations Association, and he's so active, and he volunteers for so many organizations. He helped restore the Plot neighborhood in the Albright Avenue, Weston Field neighborhood after the flood down there. And when Dave Wenzel was mayor, Scranton was hailed as the ninth best place to live in the nation. And buy his book, it's a good book. Thank you.
And the author himself, Mayor Dave Wenzel.
I get to talk about Jimmy now. So
Oh, boy.
turnaround is fair play. Jimmy Connors was mayor between 1990 and 2002. To tell you the truth, I feel like it was a heck of a lot longer than that. Okay. Jimmy Connors and former Mayor James Walsh were the only two mayors to be married while in office.
Right.
Of all the mayors we're talking about.
To different women.
Jimmy asked me about when we first met. I don't even remember the first time I met Jim. That's how much he impressed me.
Very funny.
But I do know that his wife and my wife were school teachers and all. They know each other. And I ran into Jim, and he was one of the first people to ask me about why don't you run for mayor of the city of Scranton? And I kind of like, I was a little bit turned off by it. No, I don't think I could do that. And I was a tax collector at the time. But the more I thought about it, he put that little grain of doubt in there that maybe I should be doing something like this. And so I called him up and I said, yeah, Jim, I think I'm going to do it. And we've been friends since then. The key to winning that election that you mentioned about with Jimmy McNulty was in Manuka. Now, ever since Manuka became a part of the city of Scranton, Republicans were losing elections back there by large margins. Almost 500 vote margin came out of Manuka in favor of all the Democrats that were running. Well, with Jimmy on my side, and along with Attorney Powell, they were two good people who knew a lot of people in the Manuka area. When the final tally came in with between McNulty and myself, instead of a 500 vote majority for McNulty, he only had a 125 vote majority, and I won the election by only 120 votes. Now, the more you think about it, there's 120 votes. Who did you talk to, and how many people did you talk to? How many times did you go to bed at night and said, why didn't I talk to this people or nothing? It could drive you nuts thinking about how you could have got another 120 votes on the whole thing. So anyway, Jimmy was a good friend, and I also wanted to do something with our neighborhood associations, and so I asked Jim to be in my administration, to be in my liaison to the neighborhood association. He was the president of the Manuka Neighborhood Association. He proved to be a real scrapper. He went after the people in the city who had rundown houses and weren't taking care of them, vacant lots that were just being overrun, things that really brought down the value of property and also made a community not too proud of itself. Jimmy jumped on and did that. As mayor then, after I said I wasn't going to run, Jimmy picked up the ball as far as the mall was concerned, and he ran with it. He quickly moved to get the Steamtown Mall going, which had been stalled during this transition from period between myself and Jim. In March of 1992, the great implosion took place in downtown Scranton. Jimmy was always a little bit of a showman and everything. And if all of you who could remember that, with something like around 12 large buildings coming down with an implosion, there were 15,000 people who actually showed up downtown to see it, and it was broadcast live over DAU TV. And I sometimes play it back myself just to see how it was. They had this kamikaze cam that they put on this on top of the building. And they were playing this up. Oh, we're going to see the buildings going down. You're going to see as it falls down between the different floors and everything. Well, the thing just knocked off right after the explosion. Nothing happened. And the thing was worth a heck of a lot of money, too, in the process. Anyway, Jim just planned it, that the mall would open 10 days before his re-election bid.
Dumb luck, dumb luck.
Just happened to be one of those things. And Jimmy, of course, had money problems just as I did. The loss of revenue sharing from the federal government and the high cost of health costs was increasing. The city of Scranton was forced to declare itself as a distressed city. And the commuter tax was passed by the city, which really got everybody throughout the entire rest of the area very PO'd at Jim.
That's right.
Yes. So anyway, when Governor Casey played such a large part in helping us to get the Viewmont Mall, or not the Viewmont Mall, but the Steamtown Mall opened and all. When we lost him as a governor, when he turned over the leaf to Governor Ridge, Jim lost a good friend there. And then finally, on July 4th, 1995, the Steamtown National Historic Site had its grand opening, and of course Jimmy was there to cut the ribbon also, and to bring forth something that we had both a mall and also a National Historic Site, both together.
To be fair, though, that was you and Mayor McNulty that brought Steamtown National Park to fruition.
Right, we started it, but you brought it all the way around, and you made sure that it...
You give me more credit than I deserve, Mayor.
Well, I realize that. I'm an honest person. Anyway, the Hilton Hotel was built right across the street. It was first of all, the old Casey hotel had to be torn down because of neglect, and also the fact that it was in the back end of it was starting to bow and everything. So it had to be torn down, but through Jimmy, we were able to start work on the new Hilton, which would be built where the Prino's was, and a new parking garage just across the street where the Casey Hotel was located. Under Connors, the city undertook the flood control program, and I have to tell you the story about this. The flood control program started after Hurricane Gloria, and Gloria came right at the tail end of 1985. I came into office in 1986 and started working on fixing up the Sanderson Avenue Bridge, which had been damaged. It was a big project. We ran into all kinds of problems. Over the next 4 years of my administration, we're finding all kinds of problems with the historic preservation people, and then also getting the money from the state to be able to fix it up. And finally, we got the whole bridge taken care of and built, and it was just in the last month of my administration. So the first month of the administration, they have the dedication of the opening of the bridge. Now, I put on 4 hard years of working on this.
did.
And there on the bridge, it said, Mayor James P. Connors, Mayor of the City of Scranton, and I gave all that information that you have about it and everything like that. But I got even with them. Somebody came along, and because it was a brass plate, somebody stole it. And I think that's poetic justice
We
right
saw
there.
your license plate in the area.
Anyway, reflecting on his 12 years as mayor, Jimmy once cited the 3 accomplishments he's proud of. Number 1 was the mall, number 2 was not raising taxes, and number 3 was, and probably you don't know this, a Parade magazine article that stated that Scranton had the 2nd lowest murder rate and the lowest robbery rate of any city of our size
Right.
in the United States.
Right.
And that was something to be
We
proud
put
of.
cops on the street, Mayor, you did too.
Thank you.
That's what Mayor Courtwright's doing now too. He's going to keep this city safe.
That's good.
Thank you, David. Thanks. When I took the job with the chamber, it was actually September 2013. So I love when people keep saying, congratulations on the new job. It's 2 years on the job. I guess I haven't accomplished very much to be able to signal that. But one of the things that I did was I talked to both chamber leaders and other community leaders and asked, among different questions, what do you think we should be doing differently as a chamber? And one of the things that really stood out is people said, you really need to establish a very strong relationship with City Hall. And so when Bill Courtwright was elected, I was waiting for that opportunity. And the reality is I didn't have to wait. Before he was even elected, he called me, came over to see me, and started to lay out some plans. I suspect he'll talk a little bit about that right now. My point to you all is this is a gentleman who is working really, really hard for your city. He and I have struck a really nice relationship, both personal and professional. He knows what we've said, and that is that the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, the business community as a whole, is behind City Hall, because we realize that the challenges that are there have to be undertaken by everybody. And it's not enough to point fingers, it's necessary for everybody to step up. And I can tell you this, that an awful lot happens that the public doesn't see, and Bill Courtwright is working really hard to make those relationships to help this city. So now, to close our program, I'm going to introduce the 30th mayor of the city of Scranton, Bill Courtwright.
Thank you, and just welcome to everybody, all the elected officials and dignitaries that are here this evening. And I'd like to have a special thanks to the Lackawanna Historical Society for bringing us together for this special event in this historic hotel. I have some prepared notes here, but as Mayor Wenzel spoke, he talked about financial hardships. Jim, they were already mad at you for the commuter tax. You shouldn't have gave it back. Maybe.
I know. You're right.
So anyway, you know, it's nice to be the current mayor because they gave me the last word here. And when they invited me here this evening, they said, we're not going to ask you to speak on any particular mayor, just speak on the city in general. And I said to my secretary, Kay, I said, thank God, because I have to follow this guy, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. I can tell you that what I really think about the 29 years that preceded me, because I'm the last one to speak, without any retribution. But just kidding. As you know, we're getting ready to mark our 150th anniversary of the incorporation of the city of Scranton. Scranton's history has been full of challenging periods. While challenges come in many forms, the one constant has been the determination and the resiliency of the Scrantonians to meet the challenges and to come out stronger on the other side. Over the course of our history, 30 people have had the privilege of serving as mayor of the electric city. And when I say privilege, I really mean just that. It's not an easy job, And I'm sure at times all the mayors must have thought, am I crazy for taking on this monumental task? But its reward, definitely, the rewards definitely outweigh the pressures. The rewards of being the mayor of the city of Scranton, for me at least, they're not financial. I think we all know what I make. They're not political. And they come, to me, that comes from doing the very best you could each and every day for the city you love and the people of the city who become part of you. As mayor number 30, I can tell you it is truly an honor to be entrusted with ensuring the well-being of the city we all grew up in and we're all proud to call home. It was a beloved former mayor who was sitting in this room that first sparked my interest in politics and government, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Mayor James Connors. Mayor Connors appointed me to the Civil Service Commission many years ago, and I learned from that service what it felt like to work for the betterment of the common good, and decided I needed to do all that I could and do much more than that. And so here I sit today. So I want to thank Mayor Connors for getting me involved. From the city's first mayor, Elliott Hill, in 1866, to my current tenure in the mayor's office, everyday citizens have put forth their names and given them themselves to make Scranton the best city it can be for our children and for our grandchildren. Generations of Scrantonians have been faced with obstacles that threaten to diminish our city or even worse. In each instance, whether it has been the decline of one industry or another, first steel and then coal, or seemingly insurmountable financial conditions that we see today, Scranton has refused to be relegated to the scrap heap of history. None more so than our current financial situation, which I passionately fight every single day to make a better situation for our city. Now, I'm happy to report, as I did in this year's State of the City address, that we're making real progress and moving ever forward toward a higher and brighter city, Scranton. We as a city, as time and time again, have reinvented ourselves to face the changing landscape of the day. So today we face new challenges of a new millennium as we seek sustainable solutions to put our city back on solid footing and on a prosperous course. That Scranton spirit is indomitable. That is why I know that by working together, as Bob had said, which I've forged a great relationship with Bob in the Chamber, Scranton's best chapter is still to come. Before I finish up, I would like to congratulate the essay winners today here. Congratulations to all of you. And I'd just like to speak just a little bit about the situation that we find ourselves in. I don't think that the city has ever found themselves in a tougher financial situation than we face right now. And there's tough decisions to be made, and sometimes not popular, but they need to be made in order for our city to survive. And we're making those decisions. And thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and other organizations, we brought on some consultants that have really given us some good ideas. The one consultant that we brought on, Mr. Henry Amoroso, he was credited for saving Newark for Mayor Cory Booker. He saved the Archdiocese of Newark. He does the land deals between the Vatican and Israel. Atlantic City has just hired him now to save the casinos. So we went out and we found the best that we could find. And without the help of the Chamber and all the other people that helped finance this individual, we wouldn't be moving ahead like we are today. And this was at no cost at all to the taxpayers. It was just the generosity of the Chamber and the people that they brought forward to us. So I hope you're patient with me. It's going to take some time to get it straightened out, but we're going to get there. And I thank you for all your confidence that you have in me. And thanks again.
So, gentlemen, in thanking you not only for coming here tonight, but really more importantly, thanking you for, in so many ways, putting aside your own personal interests, many times, many ways, your own lives during the 10 years that you served. You put the community ahead of your own personal self-interest. For that, I think there can't be anything more, more higher calling and really more of a commitment to the people you served. So all of you have wonderful legacies. We know that Bill's legacy is yet to be written, and we're working hard to make sure that it's a partnership of everybody. But I just want to say again, in closing, thank you to the Historical Society, to Mary Ann, and to Michael, to everybody who participated in the program tonight, and especially to our mayors. Thanks for coming and being part of it.
I still have a half hour of material. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.